Hello, welcome to the video. Let me walk you through how I insulated my window reveals, going from a setup that had potential for condensation and mould to doing the best I can to prevent it, while also keeping the impact on the window frames minimal. So a little backstory why we're doing this. If you've seen my short where I did the brick sill for my kitchen window, and then I've done it on the two other windows that are in this kitchen, so this one here and this one here. So I've done 3 so far. The new windows in all 3. So now the windows are a lot more energy efficient. To close it, so this has got a cavity. We've also had cavity wall insulation put in, which are the like beads, and they inject it with like glue and beads, and it fills your cavity. Back in 1950, back in the day, what they used to do to close that cavity off, they used to just bring the inner skin and return it back to the outer skin, and then they used to just put a damp-proof membrane down there to stop the penetrating damp. But because they've done it that way, there's no insulation there. So I brought you over to the living room window. This window hasn't been replaced yet. We haven't got around to it, and we're trying to spread our funds out to more important things at the moment, because the windows we can get done once we're in. So if you see here, this is our inside skin, and they've returned it. So this one, they've returned it back there behind the window, which is then touching the outside skin. So what that means is, as the cavity wall insulation come along, I've got a break in that insulation, and that blockwork's touching the outside, which causes what's called a cold bridge. What that means is when a material with a high heat conductivity, so like block, concrete, when materials like that break the insulation layer of your building envelope, so in this case the cavity wall insulation, it creates like a weak spot, or like a thermal bridge. It allows heat to escape easier, which then causes cold spots on your reveals, and obviously everyone knows cold spots then can lead to condensation, and then condensation can lead to mould. That's why a lot of the times you find mould on the window reveals. All it's going to do is look for its next weak spot. Normally that's your window reveals if you're in like a older property like this one. So that's why I'm insulating my reveals. I've also got a couple of other problems in the sense of what material to use. So like in new builds and nowadays, if you were building it, your cavity gets left open, and you just use cavity closers, which are just like a plastic with a bit of insulation behind it, and that's okay. Normally retrofitting, you can use insulated plasterboard, which is plasterboard with Celotex stuck on the back, and you can just stick that on. The trouble with that in my scenario is I haven't got that depth on the window without it looking stupid, if you know what I mean. Let me show you. So here I've got 40mm to this point here. I don't want to be anywhere near that really, because I don't want the window to look kind of like boxed in, if you know what I mean. So the insulated plasterboard comes up at about 32mm. Then I'm going to have plaster on it, so I'm looking at coming over at 35, which will leave a tiny little border like that, and I just think that will look a bit weird. It's trying to get the best of both worlds. Obviously you want to insulate it and get a good thermal value there, but you also want it to look nice on your window, I think. So it's about trying to get that happy medium. I've gone with a product called Jacko Board Plano, I think it's pronounced. Probably not pronounced like that, because I can't pronounce any words, as I know from my Cat 6 cable video. So that's what's in these boxes. What it is a tile backer board. So I've got 20mm to go all the way around, which will give me almost the same value as Celotex, but then I can just plaster straight on. So all I'm using up is about 25mm, which is a lot better than like 35. I know 10mm don't seem that much, but I think it will make the window look a lot better. My other slight problem is above here, above this one, well, above all my windows, I've got solid concrete lintels. That just does the inside skin, and then again, if you've seen my short on my kitchen window lintel replacement, because before I did the sill here, I had to replace the outer skin lintel because it had gone all rusty. If you haven't seen it, check it out. So my other problem is because in the lintel, I've got a cavity tray. What problem this has caused with my cavity wall insulation is obviously because the damp-proof membrane is there, the insulation can't get to behind the lintels. Right, let me show on my torch, but that black there, you see there, that is the back of my outside skin lintel, and then obviously this is the concrete one. And what's happened is, if you can see up there, I've got no insulation there whatsoever. I'm not sure if it's technically classed as a cold bridge, but I've got an uninsulated void where heat can escape easier. So the only solution I could think of is to insulate the front face of my concrete lintel as well. So that way I'll have an insulation layer coming along the bottom of the concrete lintel, and then I'm going to return it up the wall. And then again, obviously, because you can just plaster over it, I can just plaster over it, bring it all in nice and neat. You won't know it's there. That way the concrete lintel is insulated up to the point of where the beads come down to. That's the only solution I could think of, because again, if I leave that face of that concrete, it's going to be colder than anywhere else. And again, condensation, especially in this kitchen. But I'm using 12 mil up there rather than 20 because I can't get 20 on the wall without it sticking out. So I hope that's come across okay, and you understand why I'm doing it. I'm going to do one of these today, but I'm going to show you this little window because I haven't done anything to this window whatsoever. It's just a new window, but I've still got the window board in. I've still got the plaster on the sides, on the window veil. I mean, I've still got the curtains up. So yeah, I thought I'd do this one. And then when we get to the stage, I'll run through the product as well. Also, if you're new around here, we're currently doing up this 1950s ex-council house, me and my wife, as this is our first home. Documenting it all, I'm trying to go through every process and make videos on it. So if that's something that interests you, please subscribe, like the video, comment, all that jazz, you know it all. Right, I think that's everything. Let's get the tools out of the van, get my mask because it's going to get dusty, get my ear defenders, get the ladder, get set up, and let's go. Also, as this is our new window, I just got some cardboard that I'm going to tape onto it while I knock this plaster and tiles off, because I don't want anything damaging the plastic or worse, the glass. Let there be light. Nice. This SDS hammer drill, set to breaker mode, makes light work of removing this plaster. If you don't have one, I highly recommend picking one up. Something else I strongly recommend is a good mask. If you see my YouTube short about mine, you'll know exactly why. The one I'm using is the JSP PowerCat Active. It's not cheap, but I generally can't recommend it enough, especially if you wear glasses like me. Because it blows air down across your face, which stops the visor from steaming up, it also stops the glasses steaming up as well. That was always my biggest frustration with tight fitting masks. Technically, you're supposed to be clean shaven when wearing a mask, but if you're like me and you look about 12 without a beard, this mask works brilliantly, while the positive air pressure keeps all the dust out. It also has a visor to protect your face and eyes, built-in bump cap in case anything knocks you in the head. Honestly, it's well worth investing in something better than disposable masks. Alright, the other thing I want to do while we're here is, see this gap all the way up, I'm just going to foam all that. So it's all nice and sealed, no air gaps or anything around it. I'm just using this pseudo expanding insulation foam. If you are looking for foam to do something like this, make sure it's closed cell foam, because then that prevents any moisture transferring through it. What the frick is this? While that foam goes off, let me talk about the product. As you can see, I got it from the tilershub.co.uk, just in case it wasn't printed enough times. It's a box in a box. Really well packed. I like that. I do like that. So this is it. It's primarily a tile backer board, but for this instant, it's going to be my window reveal. If you have a look, you've got the insulation, which is that purple stuff, and then just like a cement coating over the top of it. So in my scenario, you just prime this and then you can plaster straight over it. So it works so much better retrofitting. This is so much easier because you haven't always got that room on your window. You can cut it multiple ways as well. You can just get a sharp Stanley knife, straight edge, and just score it like you do with plasterboard and then break it. I'm going to see how that goes with this. Because this is 20mm, I don't know if it's going to be a little bit more difficult. If not, I've got my track saw that I'll just cut it with, or you can cut it with like a jigsaw or something. But you want to get nice straight lines, especially when you're doing something like this with the window reveal. It's really light as well, light as a feather, so it's going to be nice to work with. They do different sizes, so this is a 600 by 1.2. They do 600, I think up to like 3 meters, I think. I know they definitely do a 2.4 one. The only reason I went for a 1.2 instead of a 2.4, because obviously I've got bigger windows that are bigger than 1.2, but the delivery costs just went over, I think it was like 150 quid, where to get these delivered was 20 quid. But because the 2.4 length is classed as a large item, it needs a different courier to be delivered by, so you pay a lot more. So I thought for the hassle of only like two windows, I think are the bigger windows, all the others I will get this in one go. Yeah, for the difference in price, and it was just worth just getting them in the smaller. But if you wanted to get them in 2.4, then there is that option. Also, when you're doing something like this, just get some sawhorses and some timbers and just set up a little workbench. It's so much nicer to work off something that is this height rather than bending down like this or getting up and down off your knees to doing it on the floor. Just get some cheap sawhorses. I put timbers that way and this way, because then when you're cutting this way, you just move this one to wherever and it always supports it. Yeah, just always think it's worth having a little workbench to work off. Oh no, look at this. I think I might have put too much foam in. Uh-oh. It'll be all right. I've still got the protective film on the inside here, so once that's gone off a little bit more, I'll cut it. I didn't expect it to expand that much. The other side hasn't, just that top for some reason. Oh well. Right, you're on my head at the moment. God knows what the neighbours will think if they see me out the window. This camera's stuck on my head. Anyway, I thought this was the best way, trying to explain how I'm going to work all this out. So, that wall, very slightly out of level at the bottom. But if you see here, the gap there is literally just about 12mm. So I'm going to bring it out very slightly just to give us a little bit of movement. What I'm going to do first, this is very slightly sloping up as well, so I'm going to get a square and square it off the window to get my measurement, plus however much I want out here. So I want to, like I say, I'm going to do the top first, because you always want to do the top, because then you can get your sides in and that can hold that there, and then I can cut this one down, do the same for the other side and go from there. Right, the other thing I want to check for is how plumb the actual reveal is, and that don't look very good. Is I want to measure how, because I know this, because this is a new window, I know this is perfectly plumb, perfectly level and everything, so I want to know where that comes. So square off the frame there, because we might have to cut some of this back. Gives us a 20mm reveal. We've got pretty much the same on both sides, which is always good. I'm going to have a 20mm border, so I'm only losing about 18mm of my window frame, which I'm happy with considering. So measuring for the top, put that there as a straight edge to come all the way up. That is 152. So I'm going to go 155, give me a little bit of play, because I want to give it enough room for this 12mm to sit on it, and then I can feather that out. It will stick past a little bit of this, but once the bead's on and then it's plastered, I can feather that bit out. This side's pretty spot on. Nice. So again, that is, yeah, just under 12, it's about 11. So Okay, this side's a bit different. This one is 146, and I'm having 3mm that side, so let's add 3mm this side. So 149. So a little tip, when you're measuring from that corner, like into corners, you see how the tape bends. If you measure from one corner 100mm, or any round number really, 100mm, and then measure from there to there, so you got 955, add your 100mm, so that's 1055, 1055. And then the other thing I want to do is just check this isn't really out of square, which it isn't. That's good. Nope, that's good. We can deal with any tiny blemishes, but as long as it's not loads out. Let's mark her up and see how she cuts. When you're doing something like this where you've got two different measurements each end, so this is 149 and this is 155, make sure you measure your width as well first and then mark your next. So I've marked 149, I will then mark my length first and then measure up to 155, because if I mark it over here, because you've got a slight taper on it, when you actually cut it to length, it won't be the size that you need at that point. Right, let's see how well this cuts. So I'm going to try it with the utility knife. It cuts okay, just messes the foam up a little bit. I think I'll go through a lot of sandy blades though. Alright, let's see if this fits. Nice. I've just marked reference points, so that's 20mm up along there, so when we come to stick it, I'll know what to reference. It's not got to be absolutely millimetre perfect, but at least if I can see them, it's easier to try and get it all nice and level, all nice and straight. So I've got a timber that end just propping that end up, so I can get my level and take this. Now this is like a reference point. I'm going to get it level, plumb, get it plumb, not level. And then I can measure this bottom. If I go 155, all right, got this one cut. Nice. Start marking these so I don't forget where each one goes. Okay, so I've cut both sides. I was just going to do the bottom because I wanted to dry fit it all first before putting the foam up, because I want to put packers here and there where I need it just to support stuff. But the bottom is, I need to cut some of this brickwork away, because that mark there is my 20mm from like down, so it's the same all the way around the window, but I've got to get a window board on here as well. So I need the thickness of the window board and the insulation. That's how much lower this brickwork needs to be. But then it twigged in my brain, a little light bulb went off, that I need the thickness of the window board. Now normally window boards are 25mm, but my other situation is I've got only about 18mm of the frame left here, and I don't really want the window board to be lower, to have anything lower than what the window is, just so it don't get affected. So I need the top of my tile backer board to come just below that window, and then I'll get an 18mm board and then stick a bigger nose in on the front to make it look like the window board's bigger than it actually is, just so it's not really thin. Yeah, that means I've got to now cut some of this block work down, get a little bit dusty. I think I've only got my 4-inch angle grinder as well, so it's only going to cut half into that. I'll have to break it and then cut it again, I think. Okay, so that didn't go too bad. Only annoying thing is it broke the back of the block, sorry, on one of them. Have a look at this. I just cut the bottom and I put it in and I was like, why is that sticking out so much? Because when I sit that in, it was sitting out over the wall that much. And I was like, have I cut it wrong? So the wall, nice. And then as it gets to where the window board was, I've just got a massive gap. Look how it is there. So a good 10mm gap. So what I might do now is just overboard all this and just stick plasterboard on and just overboard it so I've got a nice smooth finish, because I've got to do that to this wall anyway, because I've got to try and box this steel in fire line, because that's what building control wants. So I might just carry that over, just board the whole of this corner really. But yeah, I just thought that was funny how from that wall to that bottom wall was like 10mm difference. But it's what you get in the old houses, isn't it? Also, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this bottom on, because I'm going to use foam adhesive to stick all this on. I'll show you which one in a minute, but I'm going to stick that one on, let it go off a little bit. My original plan was to have the sides sit on the blockwork and then just the bottom in, but now the sides are going to come down. I want to stick that in so I can get that perfect everywhere it needs to go. Then I can cut the sides to them. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'm going to use this it's plasterboard adhesive foam, but it's basically just all the same stuff to fix these panels on. Give it a good shake. You can get this goes in the gun, but you can just get the one with the trigger on it. But I'm just going to coat all this up and get this stuck down. Once it's all sprayed, you just got to wait until it goes a little bit tacky before you can put it on. This is like a moisture curing foam, so if you're in a rush, you can lightly damp with a spray bottle, lightly damp the wall, and then when you put this in, the water will make this go off a little bit quicker. See how it's going stringy now that my finger's in it? That means it's ready. So I've just put some packers there just to help get it nice and level. Okay, so that was nice and easy. I had the packers there, so I laid the board in first, put the packers there, got it all nice and level, and then taking the board, spray the foam on, put it back on. The board was slightly pulling away from the frame, so these are just weight. It's not much, just weight, just to push it back towards as the foam goes off. But yeah, nice and level, and then nice and level that way. I haven't got a boat level, so I have to use my square. So yeah, I'm going to leave that to go off. It's getting a little bit late, so I'll come back tomorrow, finish off the sides, and get this first window done. Well, hey, it's the next day. So, I don't know why, but I've woken up today, like proper, like hyped. Do you know when you just wake up and you're just like, let's go! That's how I've kind of woke up today. So, if I'm a little bit more hyper today, that's why. This has all gone off. It's solid, absolutely solid. That foam just amazes me how it sticks so well. It's so, like, I can't, wicked. So, last thing I did yesterday was I stuck this packer up here because the lintel is sitting a bit like that, going upwards towards the window. The packer plus the thickness of the board will come down to the 20mm that line that I've got. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, especially when you're on your own. I've got to get the top in and the sides all at the same time without anything falling down. So I've cut the sides to length, and the way I got that measurement was, you know, my marks here, I literally, now this is all set in, like the bottom's all set in, I've measured from there to that mark and cut them, and then the top's going to sit on top of the sides. I'm going to foam up all three, so the two sides and the top all at once. And then my plan, hopefully, is I can stick the top up, hold it there with one hand, use the other hand to put the right hand one in, and then swap and then put the left hand one in, all while holding that, and then hopefully everything holds there. I've also got props just in case, these plasterboard props, just in case I need to hold the top up in the middle. I don't know if it will sag or not. I don't think it will, but just in case. But yeah, let's see how this goes. Like I say, if you can have someone else helping you at this point, it would be a lot easier. Right, the foam's ready. I've cut the foam around the window. I've just quickly brushed the lintel as well just to get any loose stuff off, and the same for the sides. This is either going to go really well or it's going to be freaking difficult, but let's give it a go. Oh no, picked up a bit of the foam. Perfecto. Yes. Let's just check these reveals. I've got foam stuck all on my gloves. Nice! That went a lot smoother than I thought it would, actually. Pretty good. Have a look. Well, hey, so I'm just going to let the foam go off a little bit, so then I can cut that access off at the top, so I can stick the board that's going on the front of the concrete lintel. That's going to be 12mm, so that won't be too hard. I'm happy with how that went. That went a lot easier than I thought it would. Sweet. Okay, foam's gone off, so I've trimmed that back. I've cut a little bit more out each end just so I can oversail it. I've cut the board. I've got the foam on it, so all that's left to do now is stick this bit up. Well, hey, all done. Window is completely insulated. Well, the reveals are. I know this isn't 100% certain to stop everything. When you're kind of doing something in a building like this, trying to get everything 100%, you're fighting a losing battle, I think. All I'm trying to do is the best I can to try and limit stuff. So I know you could probably argue that you'd get cold bridging through here because this, 100mm strip down here is still connected. You could go forever and just keep saying stuff. I think in this situation, and in a situation where you've got an older building that isn't built to be insulated, you just have to try your best. I think we'll be all right though, because we're going to have cooker extractor in the kitchen as well as one in the toilet. And then these new windows have all got trickle vents in. I'm happy that at the end of the day, I've done everything I can to try and insulate it and also still make it look nice around the window. I'm really happy with that border that I've got around the window. So that's it. Thanks again a lot for watching if you've watched this far. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you are new around here, please subscribe and like if you like renovating and watching me as I renovate this place, because I've got a hell of a lot of work to do still. Oh, my days. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.